The ancient signal. Sarah Chen stared at the anomalous readings on her console aboard the galactic research vessel Helios, trying to ignore the dismissive clicks and chirps from her alien colleagues. As the only human scientist among a crew of 300, she'd grown used to being treated as a curiosity, a representative of a young species that had stumbled onto faster-than-light travel barely 50 years ago. The Helios's sensitive instruments had detected something unusual in the quantum substrate of spacetime, a pattern that none of the other researchers seemed able to perceive. But to Sarah, it was as clear as a musical note hanging in still air, a repeating sequence that tickled the edge of recognition. "Dr. Chen, you're exceeding your allocated processing time again," chittered senior researcher Vex Troll, his crystalline form refracting the blue light of the science bay. "The Council has strict protocols about resource usage by provisional species." Sarah didn't look up from her work. "With respect, senior researcher, I believe I've identified a signal embedded in the quantum foam. It's structured, deliberate, and it's using mathematical constants unique to Earth." "Impossible," Vex Troll dismissed. "Your species was drawing pictures in caves when this signal originated. The dating puts it at least 50,000 years old. Then explain why it's based on the Fibonacci sequence and human prime numbers," Sarah challenged, finally turning to face him. She projected her findings onto the main holographic display, the pattern spinning in golden light. "This isn't random noise. It's a message." The science bay fell silent as other researchers paused their work to observe the confrontation. Humans were known for their stubborn persistence, but challenging a senior researcher was unprecedented. "Even if you're correct, which you're not, investigating unauthorized signals violates first contact protocols," Vex Troll stated. "Return to your assigned duties." Sarah's hand hovered over her console. 5 years of being patronized, of having her theories dismissed, of watching humanity being treated as galactic children. It all crystallized into this moment. "The protocols only apply to unknown civilizations," she said quietly. "But what if this isn't first contact?" Her finger descended on the activation key. The holographic display erupted with new information as her detection algorithm decoded more of the signal. Mathematical proofs, astronomical coordinates, and fragments of what appeared to be ancient human language scripts filled the air around them. "By the Founders," whispered one of the junior researchers, their tentacles writhing in agitation. "Those are Earth numerical systems, but they're older than our civilization," Sarah finished. "Much older." She manipulated the display, highlighting a particular sequence. "This isn't just a message, it's an invitation." Vex Troll's crystalline form had taken on a clouded appearance, a sign of extreme distress in his species. "I'm shutting this down and reporting you to the Council. This is clearly a malfunction or deliberate fabrication." "The signal is being broadcast from multiple points," Sarah continued, ignoring him. "All of them corresponding to systems with abandoned precursor sites. Sites that, oddly enough, have human-proportioned architecture that no one could ever explain." The coordinates spiraled through the display, each point connecting to form a pattern that was unmistakably deliberate. A map, drawn in stars, with a clear destination marked at its center. "Senior researcher," Sarah said, allowing herself a small smile, "I request permission to lead an expedition to these coordinates. Unless, of course, you'd prefer to explain to the Council why you ignored evidence that humans might have achieved space travel long before any current civilization." Vex Troll's form flickered rapidly between clarity and cloudiness as he processed the implications. The other researchers had abandoned any pretense of working, their attention fully captured by the impossible data floating before them. "The Council will never approve this," he finally stated, but his tone had lost its dismissive edge. "The Council," Sarah replied, already beginning to plot a course to the nearest signal source, "is about to learn that their assumptions about humanity might need some revision." She looked up at the star map, at the puzzle pieces of humanity's forgotten past waiting to be rediscovered. "And something tells me this is just the beginning." The quantum signal pulsed steadily in the background, like a beacon calling humanity home, not to Earth, but to the stars they had somehow forgotten they once called their own. The ancient signal. The Helios dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of an unremarkable star system, its sensors immediately beginning to map the ancient debris field that surrounded a small rocky planet. Sarah stood at the main observation window, watching as pieces of what might have once been orbital platforms drifted past. "Preliminary scans complete," announced the ship's eye. "Detected materials include elements consistent with advanced computational systems. Estimated age, 48,000 years." Vextrol's crystalline form shimmered with barely contained agitation. "The Council is demanding hourly updates. If this proves to be another false lead—" "It's not," Sarah interrupted, her eyes fixed on the approaching planet. "Look at the orbital patterns of that debris. It's not random. Even after all this time, it's maintaining perfect geometric formations." The ship's external cameras zoomed in on the debris field, revealing structures that were clearly artificial and somehow still active. Faint energy signatures pulsed between the fragments, maintaining their precise positions despite millennia of gravitational forces that should have scattered them across the system. "Impossible," muttered one of the xenorchaeologists. "No known power source could remain active for this long." Sarah smiled. "No currently known power source," she corrected. "But what if humanity once knew things we've forgotten?" The Helios approach triggered something in the ancient network. Points of light began to flare across the debris field, forming patterns that mirrored the quantum signal that had led them here. The ship's communications array suddenly came alive with a cascade of data. "Multiple signals detected," reported the AI. "Language analysis indicates this is impossible. The base coding structure appears to be an archaic form of human binary." Sarah's hands flew across her console, her heart racing. "It's not just binary. These are activation protocols, neural interface patterns that—" She paused, her eyes widening. "They're configured specifically for human brains." "Absolutely not," Vextrol declared, realizing what she was suggesting. "You cannot seriously be considering connecting yourself to an unknown alien system." "Not alien," Sarah corrected, already pulling up the neural interface protocols. "Human. Our ancestors left this here, left all of this here, and they meant for us to find it when we were ready." She looked around at the alien crew, at their expressions of concern and disbelief. "Think about it. Why else would these systems only respond to human neural patterns? Why encode the signal in human mathematical sequences?" The debate was cut short as the planet's surface suddenly lit up with geometric patterns visible even from orbit. A massive structure was revealing itself, its design an impossible fusion of organic and mechanical elements that made even the most advanced Commonwealth technology look primitive by comparison. "The Council is ordering us to withdraw," Vextrol announced, his form clouding with stress. "They're citing containment protocols for potentially hazardous precursor technology." Sarah had already begun preparing the neural interface equipment. "You can tell the Council that in about 5 minutes, we're either going to prove that humans aren't the primitive newcomers everyone thinks we are, or—" She shrugged, connecting the interface nodes to her temples. "Well, I suppose if I'm wrong, it won't matter what the Council thinks." Before anyone could stop her, she activated the interface. The ship's AI barely had time to register the massive surge of energy from the planet's surface before Sarah's consciousness was pulled into a stream of information that had waited 50,000 years to be discovered. She found herself in a vast digital space, surrounded by the accumulated knowledge of a civilization that had once spanned galaxies. And there, waiting at the heart of it all, was an artificial intelligence that felt impossibly familiar. "Welcome home, descendant," it said in perfect English. "We have been waiting a very long time for humanity to remember who they once were." The quantum signal that had led them here suddenly made perfect sense. It wasn't just a beacon. It was a key, designed to be recognized only by the descendants of those who had created it. And now that it had been activated, similar signals would be awakening across the galaxy, calling humanity back to their forgotten legacy. Sarah's last conscious thought before the full download began was that the Council's precious protocols were about to become very, very irrelevant. Awakening. The knowledge hit Sarah like a supernova, 50,000 years of human history, achievement, and loss flooding into her consciousness all at once. She saw humanity's first steps into the stars, witnessed the birth of technologies that defied current understanding of physics, and felt the weight of a civilization that had once shepherded younger species across the cosmic sea. Through it all, the AI, which called itself Guardian, guided her, contextualizing the flood of information, showing her why humanity had chosen to forget, to start over, to hide their legacy in plain sight across thousands of worlds. When Sarah's eyes finally opened in the Helios's medical bay, 3 days had passed. The ship was in chaos. Similar installations had begun activating across known space, each one reaching out with impossible technologies that had lain dormant beneath the feet of countless civilizations. The Council has declared a state of emergency, Vextrol informed her as soon as she regained consciousness. His crystalline form was so clouded with stress that she could barely make out his shape. 27 major Commonwealth worlds have reported ancient human facilities activating beneath their capital cities. The Arcanian Empire is mobilizing their fleet, claiming this is some kind of human invasion plot. Please tell me you have an explanation. Sarah sat up slowly, her mind still processing the vast library of knowledge she now carried. We were their children, she said softly. All of us, even the ones who think they're our superiors. She looked at Vextrol with new understanding. Your species, the crystalline sentience. Humanity helped guide your early evolution, nudged your development toward sapience. We did the same for dozens of species. Impossible, Vextrol whispered, but there was uncertainty in his voice. The Arcanians, the Commonwealth, even the Council races, humanity was there at the beginning, watching, helping, preparing the galaxy for something. Sarah frowned, accessing the new knowledge in her mind. But something went wrong. There was a choice made, a terrible choice. The ship shuddered as another energy wave passed through local space. On the main screens, reports were flooding in from across the galaxy. More installations awakening, more ancient machines stirring to life, and with them, more questions about humanity's true past. Guardian, Sarah called out, and the ancient AI manifested in the medical bay's holographic projectors. The alien crew stepped back in alarm at the casual display of technology far beyond their understanding. The protocol continues as planned, Guardian confirmed. The awakening spreads, but there are complications. Sarah nodded, understanding flowing from her connection to the vast network. The Omega Directive, the reason humanity chose to forget. She looked at her alien colleagues, seeing their fear and confusion. We didn't lose our civilization to disaster or war. We chose to hide it, to start over, because we saw something coming. Something that would have destroyed not just us, but every species we'd helped nurture. What's coming? Vextrol demanded, his fear evident in the rapid shifts of his crystalline structure. That's just it, Sarah replied, accessing more of the downloaded knowledge. We don't know exactly. The records are deliberately vague. Our ancestors knew that whatever it was, it could detect advanced civilizations. So they made an impossible choice. They used their most advanced technology to hide everything, to make themselves forget, to start over as a primitive species, while leaving behind a network of guardians and guides that would only awaken when the time was right. The medical bay's screens lit up with new alerts. The Arcanian fleet was mobilizing, moving toward Earth with clear, hostile intent. Other factions were choosing sides, the galaxy dividing itself as the implications of humanity's true history became clear. We don't have time for a gradual awakening anymore, Sarah decided, connecting more deeply with the ancient network. Guardian, initiate emergency protocol Omega. Authorization. Sarah Chen, heir to the legacy. The AI's form shifted, becoming more focused, more present. Warning. Emergency Protocol Omega will trigger immediate activation of all defensive systems. The galaxy will change irrevocably. Sarah stood, her decision made. The galaxy's already changing. But this time, humanity remembers who they are, and we have a lot of lost children to protect. As Guardian acknowledged the command, Sarah felt the ancient network surge to full power. Across the galaxy, hidden machines stirred to life, preparing to defend not just humanity, but all the species they had once sworn to protect. The time for hiding was over. The real question was, would the galaxy's civilizations accept the truth about their origins, or would humanity have to save them all over again? This time, from themselves. The storm breaks. Sarah watched from the Helios command deck as the ancient defense grid materialized around Earth. Massive structures of impossible technology phased into normal space, their mere presence causing the approaching Arcanian fleet to halt their advance. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy as humanity's forgotten guardians resumed their vigil. "The Arcanian High Command is demanding our surrender," reported Captain Ledra, her tentacles writhing with anxiety. "They claim we violated every known protocol by concealing weapons of mass destruction." "Those aren't weapons," Sarah corrected, interfacing with Guardian's vast network. "They're shields. Protection." She brought up a holographic display showing the true extent of the defense grid. "Our ancestors built them to protect every sapient species in the galaxy, not just humanity." The command deck fell silent as the display revealed the staggering scope of ancient humanity's preparations. The defense platforms weren't just around Earth. They encircled every inhabited world in the galaxy, forming an interconnected web of protection that had lain dormant for 50 millennia. "Incoming transmission from the Council," announced the ship's eye. "Priority 1. The holographic image of High Counselor Zixveri materialized, his energy form crackling with barely contained fury. "Dr. Chen, you will deactivate these systems immediately." "The balance of power." "Was an illusion," Sarah interrupted, her voice firm. "One our ancestors allowed to persist because the alternative was extinction." She accessed more of the downloaded knowledge, understanding flowing through her. "The Council needs to understand something. Humanity didn't hide this technology out of shame or weakness. They hid it to protect everyone." "Protect us from what?" demanded Zixveri. Before Sarah could answer, Guardian's presence filled the command deck. "Alert. Long-range sensors detecting anomalous readings at the galaxy's edge. Pattern matches historical records of the enemy." Sarah's blood ran cold as she accessed the relevant memories. "No," she whispered. "It's too soon. We're not ready." The holographic displays shifted, showing something massive approaching from intergalactic space. Something that defied conventional physics, that consumed light and energy, that had forced humanity to make their impossible choice 50,000 years ago. "By the void," Vextrol breathed, his crystalline form clouding in terror. "What is that?" "The reason," Sarah replied, her hands flying over the control interfaces as she activated more of the ancient systems. "The reason humanity chose to forget, to hide their technology, to start over as a primitive species. Because this thing hunts advanced civilizations. It's drawn to them. And 50,000 years ago, humanity was the most advanced civilization in the galaxy." The massive shape at the galaxy's edge grew clearer. A vast, dark mass that seemed to bend reality around it. Probing, searching, hungry. "We couldn't fight it directly," Sarah continued, the ancient memory surfacing. "It was too vast, too alien. So humanity made a choice. They hid everything, used their most advanced technology to erase their own civilization from history, and scattered their children, all of you, across the stars. But they left behind guardians, protectors, and a plan. The defense platforms were fully active now, their energy readings off any known scale. Around every inhabited world, ancient shields hummed to life, preparing to defend not just humanity, but every species they had once guided. "The Arcanian fleet is powering weapons," reported Captain Lytra. Sarah shook her head at their foolishness. Guardian, initiate first protocol. Show them. Across the galaxy, on every inhabited world, the ancient machines began broadcasting the truth, not just in data or images, but in memories. Every sapient being received the gift humanity had left for them. The knowledge of their true history, of how humanity had guided their evolution, protected their development, and ultimately sacrificed everything to keep them safe. The enemy is accelerating, Guardian announced. Estimated time to galaxy's edge, 72 hours. Then we have 72 hours to unite the galaxy, Sarah declared. She turned to face the High Counselor's hologram. The question isn't whether you'll let us activate these defenses, Counselor. The question is, will you help us use them? Because this time, humanity isn't facing the enemy alone. This time, all their children are grown up. The command deck fell silent as the implications sank in. The ancient defense grid pulsed with power, waiting. And at the edge of the galaxy, something that had haunted humanity's deepest genetic memories for 50,000 years was coming back to finish what it had started. Remembering tomorrow. The next 72 hours transformed the galaxy more profoundly than the previous 50,000 years. As the enemy approached, ancient memories continued to cascade through every sapient species, revealing the truth of their shared heritage. The knowledge changed everything. The Arcanian fleet, once poised to attack Earth, now joined with human ships in a defensive formation. Crystal ships of the Vextral consciousness took up positions alongside vessels they had considered primitive just days ago. Across the galaxy, the children of humanity's first great civilization united to face the threat their ancestors had sacrificed everything to protect them from. Sarah stood at the center of it all, her mind connected to Guardian's vast network, coordinating the greatest defensive effort in galactic history. The knowledge downloaded into her consciousness had become more than just information. It was a bridge between humanity's past and future. Enemy vessel approaching defense perimeter, Guardian announced. Scale exceeds previous encounter by 47%. Current defensive capabilities may be insufficient. Sarah accessed deeper layers of the ancient systems, finding protocols that had waited millennia to be activated. We're not fighting alone this time, she reminded the AI. Show me the combined power output of all activated facilities. The display made even Guardian pause. Every species had contributed something unique to the defense grid. Crystalline computing from the Vextral, Arcanian quantum mechanics, even primitive human innovations that approached old problems from new angles. Together, they had created something greater than the sum of its parts. Dr. Chen, High Counselor Zixteri's hologram appeared, his energy form steady now. The Council has voted. All species, all worlds stand ready. We are honored to fight alongside humanity once more. Sarah nodded, emotion threatening to overwhelm her. This was what her ancestors had hoped for, not just survival, but unity. A galaxy of diverse species, each unique, each valuable, all working together. The enemy struck without warning. Reality itself seemed to tear as it launched its first attack, a wave of void energy that threatened to unmake everything in its path. But where it met the combined shields of 100 species, it failed. Now, Sarah commanded, and Guardian initiated the final protocol. Across the galaxy, 50,000 years of prepared defenses activated as one. The web of ancient machines hummed with power drawn from 1,000,000 suns. Every ship, every station, every world contributed its strength to what came next. The enemy recoiled as the combined force of the galaxy's civilizations struck back, not just with weapons, but with the fundamental forces that bound reality together. The very principles that humanity had once used to guide the evolution of countless species were turned against the void. Multiple breaches detected in enemy superstructure, Guardian reported. Pattern suggests critical instability. Sarah felt the truth through her connection to the network. The enemy had expected to find what it had 50,000 years ago, a single advanced civilization it could consume. Instead, It found dozens of species, each approaching the problem differently, each contributing their unique perspective to the defense. The void mass began to collapse in on itself, unable to adapt to the combined assault. As it died, it released one last burst of entropy energy that threatened to tear apart the fabric of local space. Containment fields failing, Guardian warned. Catastrophic collapse imminent. Sarah accessed the deepest layers of human knowledge, finding one last protocol. No, she declared. We didn't hide for 50,000 years to lose everything now. Guardian, initiate Unity protocol. The ancient AI actually hesitated. Warning. Unity protocol will permanently alter the structure of local spacetime. The galaxy will be forever changed. The galaxy's already changed, Sarah replied, echoing her words from days ago. Now let's make sure it changes for the better. Energy poured from every defense platform, every ship, every inhabited world. The combined power of a galaxy's worth of civilizations, guided by humanity's ancient wisdom and new innovations, rewove the very fabric of space around the enemy's death throes. When it was over, when the void mass had been completely contained and neutralized, Sarah looked out at the changed galaxy. The defense platforms had transformed, becoming permanent bridges between worlds. The barriers between species had quite literally been rewritten at a quantum level. What happens now? Vextrol asked, his crystalline form refracting the light of a new dawn. Sarah smiled, feeling the weight of both ancient knowledge and new possibilities. Now we do what humanity does best. We build something new. Together. She turned to face the assembled representatives of a galaxy forever changed. Our ancestors hid their legacy to protect us all, but they also left us the tools to build something greater than they ever imagined. The ancient machines that had defended the galaxy began to transform, becoming the foundation of a new civilization. Not human, not alien, but something uniquely both. A civilization built on the understanding that diversity wasn't just beautiful, it was essential for survival. Guardian's presence filled the command deck one last time. Protocol complete. All systems transferring to collective control. The children have grown up. Sarah nodded, feeling the truth of it in every fiber of her being. Humanity had hidden their legacy, not just to protect the galaxy, but to give their children time to grow, to develop, to become something new and wonderful. Now, 50,000 years later, those children had not only grown up, they had come home.